Lobsters. It's on the menu at five-star restaurants and pricey steakhouses. In the popular sandwich shops and summer shacks of New England, a lobster roll can sell for as much as $70. Lobster is one of the most expensive seafood and considered a gourmet dish today. But lobsters were not always a delicacy. They were once regarded as the cockroach of the sea, and were usually fed to servants, prisoners, and cats. Lobster has been eaten by humans since the prehistoric period. Evidence indicates that lobster was being consumed as a regular food product in fishing communities along the shores of Britain, South Africa, Papua New Guinea, and Australia as far back as 3,000 years ago. The Viking period saw an increase of lobster and other shellfish consumption among northern Europeans. This can be attributed to the overall increase of marine activity at this time due to the development of better boats and the increasing cultural investment in building ships. The consumption of lobster went up in accordance with this general trend. In the early days, when first settlers from Europe reached North America, lobsters would reportedly wash ashore often, and would sometimes pile up to 2 feet high. Their abundance made them an easy source of protein for the people who live in coastal areas and gave them a reputation as the poor man's food. In fact, lobsters were fed to prisoners much to the displeasure of inmates. Native Americans used these hardshell creatures to bait their fishhooks and to fertilize their crops. But all that changed during the mid-1800s because of the dawn of rail transport and canned food. Lobster climbed the social ladder and became one of the most remarkable rebrandings in the history of food products. It turned out once lobster was cooked, it was easy to can. Canned lobster became an affordable protein. Lobster became one of the most popular canned products on the market due to the fact that people living in all parts of the country could now buy cheap and tasty canned lobsters. People started taking train trips out to coastal American cities. Managers who ran the rail restaurants did something interesting. They served lobsters to their passengers as if it were a fancy and exotic food. But they were procuring lobsters as a cheap commodity. But the inland passengers did not know this. They loved the taste of it and did not have any idea that lobsters can be procured easily and it was cheap and considered peasant food on the coast. Lobster became a popular food on trains and the passengers started to look for it even after they left the train. This increased the popularity of lobsters almost instantaneously. During this time, chefs had discovered that if they boiled and cooked a lobster without killing it first, it looked a lot more appetizing, and tasted a lot better. This discovery made way for many more spectacular lobster recipes. In the mid-19th century, New Yorkers and Bostonians developed a taste for it. During the same period, fishermen understood the demand and developed a specific kind of boat to catch lobsters. These boats had open wells on the deck to keep the lobsters alive until they bring them ashore. By World War II, lobster was considered a delicacy. Due to its new status, it was not rationed by the U.S. government, and the wartime economy allowed wealthy people to consume lobster at remarkable rates. This in turn increased the demand and obviously the supply has been reduced. When there is high demand and low supply, the price increases. This made the lobsters expensive and often associated with living a high life. The high cost of lobster is also because of the logistics involved in transporting it to other parts of the country, from the coastal areas. After lobsters are caught, they are kept in saltwater tanks and shipped alive. They must be shipped alive, because when a lobster dies, some enzymes in its stomach move out into the rest of its body. This makes the meat go bad quickly. This increases the cost to distribute them. Farming American or European lobsters in a commercial farm is not practical. Because, out of 50,000 eggs only 2 or 3 lobsters reach the regulated size. They are also highly susceptible to contagious diseases. Today, restaurants can still charge a premium on their lobster dishes even when market prices are low. One study revealed that people do not like cheap lobsters because they think that it's inferior or even dangerous to eat. And secondly, people consider lobster as a fancy luxury good, so they want to pay a lot for it. That's why the price of lobster remains high even when the original price falls to low levels on the seafood market. And that's the amazing story of how a fertilizer turned into a gourmet treat.